Hi Seals, welcome back. Happy Monday. I've got a special guest with me today. I've got my dog Bella with me. She likes to sit next to me on the desk while I'm doing my work, so I thought I'd include her in today's video. She just likes to sleep. She's quite lazy. Okay, so this is chapter 15. It just felt like the right book. Oscar and Tilly have just come back from Anne and Green Gables, and they've asked Grandma and Grandad whether it's true, whether what happens when they go into books, because Mr. Chalk, the scary man, said that Grandad knew all about it. So they said they're going to go and meet the librarian. The what? Tilly said. The who? Oscar said at the same time. As you have no doubt worked out, Grandad said briskly. As you have no doubt worked out, Grandad said briskly, considering where you've just been, there is a little more to Pages & Co. than most customers ever see. In fact, he said, looking curiously at Oscar, it's not something most customers ever see, and something that not all readers are able to do. But it's better if the librarian explains it to all of you. That's how we do things. We? asked Oscar, but he was ignored again. Are we going right now? Tilly said in surprise. Not right now, no, but we do need to go relatively soon. There are some basics we need to get covered to keep you safe, especially if you're being dragged into books, even if it's just to Avonlea. It's a good job you're not an avid Lord of the Rings reader, or we'd have to deal with this even more urgently. Let's go and ask Mary if she's happy for Oscar to come with us into town later today. I can go and ask her, Oscar said quickly. I'm sure today will be fine. Where are we going? Do I need a packed lunch? An umbrella? Oscar, this isn't a school trip. This is all more complicated than you could possibly know, Grandad said. It's more complicated than the fact that we just travelled inside a book. It's more complicated than the fact that Alice from Alice in Wonderland just pops into Pages & Co. for a little chat with Tilly now and again. It's more complicated than Sinister Man following Tilly through some books, Oscar said in disbelief. It's considerably more complicated than that, yes, Oscar, Grandad replied. Hang on, what did you say about a sinister man following Tilly? A character in one of the books? No, Tilly explained. It was that man who came to visit you here the other day, Mr. Chalk. And he was in Anne of Green Gables and Alice in Wonderland, Tilly added. You've been to Wonderland too, Grandad shook his head. And he was there at the same time as you and Oscar. Tilly nodded. But he didn't enter the book at the same time as you two. Are you sure? Absolutely sure. Did Chalk say anything to you, Tilly? He was just all weird and creepy, and then he left. He said he knew you from work, and he laughed when he realised you hadn't told me about it, Tilly said. Okay. Right, Oscar, you go back to... But, Oscar protested. Hear me out, Grandad said. You go back to Crumbs and ask your mum if you can come with us into King's Cross this afternoon. Tell her I'm taking you to the British Library. Tilly and I will come by to pick you up in a bit. Text Tilly or pop back in if there's a problem. Oscar was about to launch into a new list of questions, but at the unsettled look on Tilly's face, he swallowed his queries, closed his mouth, and nodded. Grandad squeezed him firmly on the shoulder. Thank you, Oscar. We'll see you soon. Now, Tilly, let's find your grandma. Grandma was behind the till, chatting to a regular customer. You are coming to the party on Wednesday, aren't you? They could hear her saying. So sorry to interrupt, Charlie, Grandad said to the customer. But Elsie, I think I'm going to take Tilly and Oscar for a trip into town to the British Library. He winked theatrically at Grandma, who shook her head slowly. To see Amelia, you know, maybe. Thank you, Archie, I've got your drift, so can you stop winking, please? Grandma looked at Tilly and smiled, although it was laced with something Tilly couldn't quite identify. She handed Charlie a paper bag and receipt with a smile and then turned her full attention to Tilly. It's very exciting, sweetheart, Grandma said. And Oscar as well, you said. Archie, do you want to take over here and maybe Tilly and I can go and have a quick catch-up in the kitchen? Tilly nodded in a dazed silence, not quite able to wrap her head around her grandparents talking so casually about what seemed to be actual magic. Over a cup of tea at the kitchen table, Grandma watched Tilly carefully. I'm sure you've already told Grandad all of this, but I'd love to hear about when you first realised what was happening. I didn't really realise until now, Tilly said. I didn't know what was happening to me, and when I first told Oscar, he thought I was imagining things because I felt sad about Mum after finding those books of hers. I'm sorry we didn't tell you earlier, Tilly, Grandma said. It's something we talked about a lot, but we decided that there was no way of explaining it before it actually happened. You would have thought we were going mad. I just can't believe I have magical grandparents and I didn't know, Grandma laughed. Oh, Tilly, to my eternal sadness, we are not magical at all. We're just lucky enough to be able to use the natural magic of books and reading. It exists for everyone, but some of us can exert a little more control over it. I can no more cast a spell than I can convince your granddad to stop hoarding shoeboxes. So, where have you been so far? I hope it was somewhere particularly enjoyable and not too adventurous. I went to the tea party in Alice in Wonderland first, and then to school with Anne Shirley, Tilly said, feeling like she was reading lines from someone else's story, not talking about her own life. Before I knew I could go inside books when I just met Anne and Alice at Pages & Co., I tried to get Sarah to come out of A Little Princess, but nothing happened. Why a little princess? Grandma asked slowly. I'm not sure. It just felt like the right book, Tilly said. It feels like ages since I read it, but Grandma had just told me it was my mum's favourite and it reminded me how much I like Sarah. He did he? Grandma said. Well, I suppose that's true, but she liked a great many books apart from that one. And if you didn't yet know what was possible, I'm not surprised nothing happened. When everything first kicks in, it's only the characters you have the very strongest relationships with that tend to start popping up. It's why Anne and Alice ended up visiting you in Pages & Co. Now, tell me what happened with Oscar. So Tilly told Grandma everything that had happened over the last few days, right up to Oscar getting yanked into Avonlea with her and then comforting Grandad. And that brings us to here, Tilly concluded. Grandad says we have to go and visit a librarian at the British Library. Well, it's sort of nearby the British Library, Grandma said, but this is a bit of a special library and a bit of a different librarian. Different but wonderful, and it's brilliant that you get to share it all with Oscar. It's good to have a friend around in this sort of situation. You mean the sort of situation where you can find out you live in a magical bookshop and you can talk to your favourite characters? Tilly said, a flicker of excitement starting to glow inside her. Exactly, Grandma said, smiling. Okay, so it's a bit clearer now, isn't it? It's nice that Grandma and Grandad are explaining it to Tilly now. So they're going to go and find the librarian, so we'll see what happens. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that story today. Hope you enjoyed my special guest. We'll see if she fancies joining us tomorrow. Okay, see you later.